Okay, so this is kind of a big one. This is a new drawing that I've put together. Um, I don't know where to start, but just to say that what precipitated this drawing was I had started with an initial drawing um, mapping out the general pattern of the magnetic currents in the human being, shaping the human being. And what happened was I was looking on the internet, looking up things on magnetism, and I saw some information about someone named Howard Johnson. And he's Howard Johnson. And I've also have a book by Walter Russell, and he has some drawings as well that are very similar to the drawings of Howard Johnson. Drawing specifically the magnetic patterns. And then I have books by Albert Roy Davis and Walter C. Rawls that also have a basic theory of magnetism as two currents, two spins, clockwise, counterclockwise, not just in the magnet, but potentially in everything. So here is... I did an initial drawing where I just had two hemispheres or two lobes, the left side of the body and the right side of the body, but with this additional perspective or information from Howard Johnson specifically, as well as the looking at the drawings of Walter Russell fresh, what I was able to see is that there aren't just these two magnetic hemispheres left and right, but as you look at the magnetic patterns, it actually breaks up into, there's still only two kinds of spins, clockwise and counterclockwise, but what you have is you have essentially, I guess you could say, four lobes or four spins. Now, of course, I'm sure you can break it down further, but as you can see, this, if you have these four spins or lobes in the face, so this is a human being right here, and as you see, what you can see is you can see the fingerprint essentially, as well as the toes. But what you have here is you have these four lobes or four hemispheres of magnetic spin or magnetic current on the face, on the torso, the upper arm, lower arm, the hand. You can see the outline for where the fingers are formed and shaped by the magnetic currents. You can see the outlines for the muscles, the musculature. You can see the outlines for the brain and the skeletal structure. Even that little point in the center for the nose. You can see the outlines for the lungs, as well as the internal organs, and the solar plexus kind of region there. And you have these four, lobes or hemispheres, of magnetic spins or current that can, essentially map out the whole human body potentially. Now, maybe they need to be broken down further, not just into fours, but even further. But this is a good... I started with two lobes, just the left and the right, but when I break it down into these four lobes, it makes a lot more sense, and the patterns become more clear. And you can see also, when you look, for instance, at the feet and at the hands, you can see very clearly how these magnetic patterns would be stepped down, and you would find them in the fingerprint whorl or in the the footprints. And so I'm not saying this is a complete model of the magnetic spins of the body, but I think it's much closer to the direction to go as far as mapping out the magnetic spins in the human body. And it's not to say there aren't other ways, other kind of spins going on, essentially. But certainly, I think if you take these 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 three basic sources, Albert Roy Davis, Walter C. Rawls, which they go together. They share their authorship on books. And then you take Walter Russell and his diagrams, his pictures, and you take Howard Johnson and his research and his models, and you take that and you apply those magnetic models to the human being, and magnetism as, instead of a being just in magnets, but a fundamental force of reality and creation, then you can see how it can map out and shape and describe and define all the patterns and structures of the human being. And I think that this particular model right here is much more precise and accurate and more true to reality than my previous drawing. And it's certainly not a finished kind of model or template, but I think it's a good beginning point. And I think I would like people who, once again, I would like people who are artistic or who can do 3D modeling or anything like that, to take this kind of template, take this outline, and go and look at the work of Albert Roy Davis, Walter C. Rawls, Walter Russell, specifically his drawings, and Howard Johnson, and the diagrams of the magnetic patterns, and then try to visualize precisely how those kind of patterns can shape the human body. I mean, clearly you can see the figure 8 pattern in all of the structures of the human body, so it is conceivable that magnetism is the force, that the underlying kind of force of life or creation or whatever you want to call it. But we have to go beyond that, not just having a rough map. I mean, this is a much better map than my previous one, but it's still a rough map. Until we can make 3D models that are completely accurate, predictive, and that can actually, map out these magnetic spins and make solid predictions that are scientifically testable, whether it's, measuring for some sort of, small micromagnetic fluctuations or electrical fluctuations or something else, then, or even somehow abstracting from the actual structures, saying, well, this is what the structure is, and this is what your theory is, and there seems to be a one-to-one, correlation or correspondence between the two. And so this is just something I want to put out there and share with people. It's, it's the first of the year, 2012. It's a big thing. Please, if you can draw something better than this, if you can 3D model something more accurate than this, if you can explore these kind of, this perspective of life more fully. In fact, what's interesting is when you look at this pattern, of course, you can see everything. You can see, tortoise shells and all these other structures that are in nature. You can see very clearly these magnetic undertones or overtones all throughout creation. So we really need to explore this and develop this, this project that I'm calling the Magnetome Project. The Genome Project, to me, is useless. The Magnetome Project is going to be the most useful kind of scientific investigation, and that leads to technological innovation that we've ever seen, probably in centuries or millennia. So that's my take on it. Yeah, I hope you guys can we can collaborate and develop this to a complete kind of science. Thanks.